Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday morning. Sunday morning, about 3:43 a.m. It's a usual thing for me when I make a video. I get up early in the morning. It's because, number one, I normally work during the night as a truck driver, and I want to. Number two, I want to be able to stay on my normal work schedule. And number three, most of the time it's quiet, and usually after I finish my videos, I take a few hours and I go for a ride on my unicycle. Tonight I considered taking the unicycle, the Monster Pro, out for a ride. I just DIY seat for the Monster Pro that looks like it's gonna work out just perfect. But this morning, I think what I'm probably gonna do instead of the usual ride, I think I'm gonna just maybe do a jog around the neighborhood, get a little exercise in. I have a full schedule later on this morning, so I need to, get a workout in at some point. Okay. All right, so back to the subject at hand. Trying to make sure my photo booth doesn't go off on me. I know there's a way of setting up a timer for this thing. I just haven't done it yet. Okay, so this morning's letter is from Friday, July 27th, 2012. My vision of Jesus sitting on the throne. Okay, let's get started. I may end up taking a little coffee break. I got my coffee over here, so this is a longer letter, so I might need to do that. So, all right, turn this volume up a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to stop and start. Friday, July 27th, 2012. From the Two Witnesses' Word, my vision of Jesus sitting on the throne. Exodus chapter 33, verse 11, KJV. And the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. Acts 9, verse 17 through 18, KJV. And Ananias went his way, and entered into the house, and put his hands on him, said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, has sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight, and be filled with the Holy Ghost. Revelation chapter 24, verse 4 through 5, KJV. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. I was approximately 32 years old when I first saw him. My first marriage was in trouble and would not survive. I prayed to the Father for guidance. He answered my prayers verbally through the Spirit. However, the decision regarding my marriage brought guilt. God knew of my feelings and sent me a reassuring vision. The vision was of me standing at the center of a vortex. It was like looking upwards from the bottom of a tornado from the inside. At the end or top of the vortex was space, a dark sky and stars. It resembled looking through a telescope at night. A voice said I was to go through the vortex and cross over to the other side. I felt afraid. Then suddenly the vision ended. I had the same dream/vision 2 nights in a row. Finally, I decided that if God sent another vision like that, I would cross over to the other side. To keep from being too afraid, I told myself to keep swiveling my head from left to right so that whatever was at the top, I could look at it briefly, then turn away. This way, I could have seconds of courage. It was a ridiculous idea, but it gave me strength. The Lord sent the same vision a 3rd night in a row. I was once again within the vortex on the ground. As soon as I decided to cross over, I was up in the air through the vortex, looking at a clear blue sky and clouds surrounding me. I was floating in the air. I remembered to swivel my head. I looked left and right and saw nothing but clouds. After about 30 seconds of this, I looked to the left and saw a man. The first thing I saw was an up-close view of the right side of his face, and then my eyes fixed on something shiny, a crown he was wearing. Seeing his crown stopped me from swiveling my head. It's a little hard to describe how beautiful it was, but I'll try. The crown looked like it was one solid crown, but upon further examination, it actually was many crowns stacked on top of each other. There was a wide base and smaller crowns placed on top of the base crown. It was made of gold, with golden tassels hanging from 4 corners of the crown. Within the crown were symbols and ornate decorations, all of gold. His appearance was that of royalty, his clothing regal. He also looked like he was sitting on what could have been a throne. Jesus was wearing 2 robes, a long red robe and a sheer golden type robe worn on top of the red robe. After approximately 2 minutes of looking at him, I realized that this is the Son of God. Being that close to God kind of shook me up a little, and fear set in. I remembered to swivel my head so that I wouldn't be afraid. I turned my head to the right, then back to the left, and saw Jesus again. But this time he was about 40 yards away from me and moving further away. I didn't want to leave so soon, but I couldn't stop the withdrawal. I felt pain in my body. There was an individual wave of power that was pushing me away from him. The more I struggled to remain near, the stronger the power wave became. I was able to gain footing, fell to my knees, and held on. Even though I was afraid, I had questions to ask the Lord. The pain became too great. I couldn't hold on any longer. I let go. I didn't see myself travel back through the vortex, but I'm sure that's what happened. I was back on Earth in my body. Waking up in my apartment, I could feel the pain all over. Eventually the pain stopped. I believe that God took my soul, my spirit, into his presence for several reasons. Number one, I needed to know that Jesus was with me no matter what. I was having a very hard time dealing with my decision. Number two, God wanted to manifest himself to me, to demonstrate his love for me, to help me to continue to walk with him. And number three, Jesus said, I just wanted to show myself to you. Matthew chapter 19, verse 4 and 8, KJV. And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore there are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorce, and to put her away? He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. Coffee break. It's good coffee. Put a little hazelnut in there too. Revelation chapter 10, verse 7, KJV. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he had declared to his servants the prophets. And I have an update here. Explanation of the pain I felt as my spirit returned to my body. I felt pain because in trying to hold on and remain in his presence, in the presence of Jesus, I was fighting against momentum. The push backwards was putting pressure on my physical body on earth. All right, so that is my vision of Jesus sitting on the throne. Now the commentary. All right, back you guys. All right, so the commentary. So, a little background. I've been actually married twice. So, my first marriage, didn't quite work out. Uh, there's been, I've come to realize there were many reasons why it did not. Take these off now. But the fact remains that it did not, and I was troubled by that. I did not want to separate, but it was clear that things would never work out between me and my ex. So we eventually got divorced. But anyway, it was very troubling for me. It's stressful. I was at a point in my salvation, in my journey with Jesus. I was really pretty strong at the time. And so having that kind of failure didn't sit well with me. It really troubled me. I had difficulty dealing with, dealing with that truth. It was really, really hard. I had a son. He was 2 years old at the time. And while I've always spent time, always had him in my life, that never changed. The separation from my wife, although it would be brief, I knew that I wouldn't be able to spend as much time with my son. So the whole thing was just a mess. Eventually, through the grace and mercy of God, things eventually worked out. We did not remain together, but my life, I moved on with my life, basically, and prospered, and the Lord has really taken me to new heights. And I've had to learn, I've had to struggle, but things eventually worked out. So during that time, the time of the vision, we were still together, and it was just really hard for me. So I would pray and tell God, speak to the Father, and I was open with him, let him know what was going on. He, of course, already knew, but it was just a struggle. So he sent me these 3 dreams or visions, whatever you want to call it, 3 nights in a row. And I got to tell you guys, I know that most people don't receive dreams and visions from God. It's something that is really, really special, and it happens to the chosen, to the ones that God chooses to do this for. He has his reasons. God loves everyone. He wants everyone to receive salvation. That won't always happen to each person. We all have our lives and things that happen. The struggle of life is a real struggle. But basically, God has his chosen. So going through that period in my life was difficult. And God, wanted to reassure me that he, with the decision I decided to make, he didn't want us to break up. But inevitably, you've got to move on when you realize that things just aren't going to, things aren't right. So you got to make them right. So, like I said, the first night, I was just flat out afraid. I was standing up outdoors, and I was standing actually in the center of a tornado. And I would look up, and I could see the end of the tornado. At the top was just stars and a black sky. So, of course, I mean, it's when you receive visions from God, they're really, really real. They're vivid. Um, for me, I've always knew that it was a vision from God. I was awake but not awake, if you can understand. So, first night I was thinking, well, I don't think I'm going up there, even though I wanted to see whatever God wanted me to see. So, um, I decided not to do it. Uh, the second night, the same thing, pretty much. The third night, I just, curiosity really got the best of me. I had received dreams and visions from God previously, and I didn't want to lose out on this one. I was thinking, what are you doing, Anthony? This is God. This is your opportunity. Like I said, it doesn't happen, for every single person in this world. Really take advantage of this. So the third time, I agreed. And as soon as I felt that way, in my heart, I was at the top, shot through the vortex at the top. And this time, I was up in the air, and there was nothing but blue sky and the clouds. I could see clouds around me, but there are clouds below me as well. So I was very high up in the air. I didn't see any birds. I didn't hear any sounds. It was completely quiet. And so now I'm remembering what I decided to do, which was the head swivel, because I'm actually floating in the air. It felt like I was standing. I wasn't like, moving. I was just actually, it felt like I was standing on solid ground, but it was actually air. I didn't want to just stand there and look forward because I didn't know if something was going to come flying in, right in front of me. I didn't know what to expect, so I did what I thought would help me. And so that's what I did. I kept doing this, like not really fast, but slow, kind of that type of motion. And so one time I looked and I turned, and there he was. And he was, Jesus was about, I almost spilled my coffee. Jesus was about, let's see if I can get closer to the camera so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he was about this close to me, like that. And I could see his whole head, and I could see the robe that he had on. He appeared to be sitting, but I was that close. So, so it was shocking, of course, and I was looking at his face, and he really appeared to be a black man to me. And I know that, God doesn't have to, God is not a black man, He, his work was done in a certain area of the world when he became flesh as the Messiah. And he came through, the lineage of the Hebrews. And they happened to be, dark skinned, African American looking people, That's what he looked like, and that's what I saw. But looking at his face, I mean, he had a really calming face. When I saw him, my whole fear went away. I was really relaxed. But what really caught my attention was this big crown he was wearing. And seeing the crown was definitely the confirmation of who I was actually looking at. I mean, there was no doubt that, this was the Son of God. His crown is incredibly beautiful. I tried to describe it. The description of it from the letter is very accurate, but words just don't do it justice. It was magnificent. It was very special. And so I was looking at his crown, looking at him. I saw his robe. He had on a red robe, but over the robe, it was like this see-through golden robe that was on top of it. And it's just really hard to explain. I've never seen everything he was wearing. I'd never seen before. Nothing like that has ever been seen. So I'm looking at him. I'm putting two and two together. I realize who he is. I get a little nervous because I'm so close to him, and he he looked at me, and then he, kept looking straight because I think he realized that, this guy is afraid. So I don't think he really wanted to stare me down. He just really, it was like I was, his son just kind of looking at him. How a child looks at their father, and like in amazement. So, wow, I said, this is Jesus. And so I got a little afraid and I turned my head again because that's what I was doing. And I turned back and I was a little bit further from him. And I didn't really like that. So I sort of tried to walk forward, but I was going backwards really, really fast. And, I was just moving back down the vortex and didn't realize it. And like I said, I was really flying back. It kind of seemed like I was moving back at about maybe 5 or 6 miles an hour. I mean, there was some quick movement, and I was just going back and back and back, and I was looking at him. And so I just fell to the ground and just tried to grab hold to whatever I could feel. I mean, I was still in the air, but like I said, it felt like I was standing on ground, but it was the air. But I was able to get a foothold. That actually surprised me. I got on my hands and knees, and I was really gripping the ground. I was pushing hard with my legs. And what was actually happening was I had separated from my body. My spirit was up in the air, and I had to go back. You can't sustain. Your body can't take, being that close to God, even though you're not flesh, but you're in the spirit. But your body, you're still connected to your body because I wasn't dead, And back on Earth, I was having a seizure because when I finally got back into my body, my body was convulsing. It eventually stopped, but yeah, I was having a seizure on Earth. But anyway, yeah, so I didn't want to leave. I was holding on tight as I could, and there were just waves of power, just shooting from Jesus. He was pushing me away. I could no longer hold on. The pain was too hard. It's like I was getting smacked in the head with some kind of force. And I eventually let go. And that's pretty much it. Once I got back into my body, I think it took maybe 10 minutes for the pain to actually stop. I don't. I'm not saying that that this whole experience was meant to be painful. I really believe that this whole thing was meant to encourage me, and he said so. But at the time, I was a little bit confused why the pain. But the pain actually came about because I was struggling so much in my spirit to stay with him, and you're connected. If your soul is connected to the body, you just can't stay in that state. It's not meant to be a long-term position to be in. You're either dead and you're with the Lord, or you're alive. You're on earth. there's a temporary in between, but it's not meant to be sustained. So I think the whole vision probably took maybe 15 minutes, and my body was struggling with that. So that's the dream. I kind of took a little long with the explanation, the commentary, but I just wanted to give you guys sort of the full experience, the full explanation, since I know a lot more about my experiences with God now. I can explain more and I understand more. So, anyway, that's it, guys. Next week, I'll bring another letter, and we'll just keep this going until I reach the end. I'm still sort of cherry picking and picking and choosing which letter I bring to you guys at the beginning, but pretty soon I'll just start going down the list. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.